What exactly do you think you are doing to my driveway? This is completely unacceptable.
Stop right there. Her voice cut through the October morning like a blade. I was on my knees installing the last paver stone when she appeared power walking toward me in a crimson blazer that looked like it cost more than my truck, Louis Vuitton bag swinging, iPhone clutched like a weapon. Behind her, two men in matching black polos with Pinehurst Meadows security patches followed at a careful distance. This is illegal. You are paving over HOA common property, and I'm shutting this down immediately. She jabbed her phone at me, taking photos like I was committing a felony. I stood slowly, brushing dirt from my jeans, keeping my voice level. Ma'am, this is my property. I have permits. Her perfectly painted lips curled. I don't care about your permits. This driveway extension crosses into our green space easement. I'm Victoria Ashford, president of Pinehurst Meadows Association, and I'm calling the police and the county inspector right now unless you tear this up. She was already dialing, manicured nails flying across the screen. My driveway, the property my grandmother left me when she died 6 months ago. The land I'd measured 3 times with professional equipment because I'm a civil engineer who designs municipal infrastructure for a living. This woman, whoever she thought she was, had just declared war on someone who literally writes drainage plans for cities. Miss Ashford, I said, pulling my phone from my pocket to start recording. You have 60 seconds to get off my property before I call the actual police for harassment and trespassing. Her face flushed scarlet. Your property? Oh, sweetie, you clearly haven't read the 2023 Green Space Protection Amendment. This entire setback area belongs to all residents now, and when the county sees what you've done, maybe you'll learn that community rights matter more than your selfish little project. October 2024. 6 months since Grandma Eleanor died and left me her cottage in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the house she'd bought in 1979, decades before Pinehurst Meadows development even existed. 3/4-acre lot with the original gravel driveway that had been deteriorating for years. Last month, I'd finally gotten time off from my job at the Durham Public Works Department to fix it. Hired a contractor, pulled permits from Orange County, designed the drainage system myself to direct runoff away from the neighbor's property. Professional grade work. Everything by the book. The new driveway looked perfect permeable pavers in a herringbone pattern, proper base layer, crowned for drainage. Extended 12 feet from the old path to create parking for 2 cars instead of the cramped single space Grandma had lived with. But apparently, Victoria Ashford had decided those 12 feet belonged to her HOA. Mia Torres, that's me. 34 years old, licensed professional engineer, and suddenly the target of an HOA president who'd built a career on controlling things that weren't hers. Victoria pulled a leather portfolio from her designer bag. The Green Space Protection Amendment, approved March 2023, Section 7.3 specifically, prohibits any hardscape construction within 15 feet of designated buffer zones. You owe $1,000 in immediate removal costs, plus $300 per day in continued violation fines starting tomorrow. I took the document. Looked official embossed letterhead, dense paragraphs formatted to intimidate anyone without legal training. The Pinehurst Meadows logo gleamed in gold foil at the top. I read it twice while she stood there, arms crossed, radiating absolute certainty. Interesting, I said, handing it back. Except this house was built in 1979. Your development started in 2001. You can't retroactively claim jurisdiction over property that predates your existence by 22 years. Her smile tightened into something sharp. The amendment covers all properties within the geographic district boundaries, regardless of when structures were built. Your grandmother's property has benefited from HOA-maintained green spaces for decades. That creates obligations. You can't just ignore community standards because you inherited an old house. Show me the recorded easement, I interrupted. The actual county document proving you have any legal right to this land. The smile disappeared. The amendment is filed with the HOA. That's sufficient authority. No, I said slowly. It really isn't. The two security guards shifted uncomfortably. Victoria's jaw tightened the look of someone unused to being contradicted, especially by a woman half her age. Miss Torres, I can see you're going to be difficult. Let me be very clear, this driveway gets removed within 7 days, or we pursue legal action. And when we're done, you'll find yourself unable to sell this property, unable to refinance, unable to do anything without HOA approval. She handed me a formal violation notice, snapped her fingers at the guards, and clicked away in her heels. I stood holding that notice, looking at the new pavers I'd laid with my own hands, working evenings and weekends to honor Grandma's memory by fixing something she'd never been able to afford. Inside, I pulled my survey from the filing cabinet. Orange County Property Assessment Records, 1979 deed, 2023 boundary verification I'd ordered before starting work. Everything showed the same thing. Grandma's property line sat 23 feet from the nearest HOA common area. My driveway didn't even come close to their boundary. I photographed every page and called my brother Marcus, a litigation attorney in Raleigh, who'd warned me about HOA problems when I inherited the house. She did what? His voice went from sleepy to sharp in 1 second. I told him everything. The confrontation, the fake amendment, the threats. Don't remove anything, don't pay anything, and document every interaction from now on. He was already typing. I'm pulling their incorporation docs right now. If she's claiming jurisdiction over property outside their boundaries, that's not just wrong, it's potentially fraud. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I saw flashlights near the driveway. Grabbed my phone, 2 figures with measuring tapes, photographing the pavers, taking notes. I watched from the window for 20 minutes. They measured everything, documented angles, took samples of the base material, never saw me watching. When they left White Pinehurst Meadows SUV disappearing down the street, I downloaded the footage from the doorbell camera I'd installed last week. Clear faces, timestamp, GPS coordinates embedded in the metadata. Marcus taught me this years ago during a construction dispute. Document everything. Trust the evidence. I added the video to a folder labeled Evidence, Ashford, and went to bed feeling slightly better. Not scared, prepared. Because if Victoria Ashford thought she could intimidate a civil engineer who spent her career proving things with data, she was about to learn about load calculations, material specifications, and the immovable weight of documented truth. Monday morning, I drove to work at Durham Public Works, the department responsible for approving drainage, roads, and infrastructure across the city. My job involves reviewing subdivision plans, checking engineering calculations, ensuring everything meets code. I'd been there 7 years, had my PE license, designed systems handling millions of gallons of stormwater, caught dozens of developer mistakes before they became expensive disasters. I understood how property development worked, not from HOA newsletters, but from actual engineering plans and county regulations. At lunch, I called Orange County Planning Department, asked to speak with the zoning administrator. I need clarification on HOA authority over pre-existing properties, I explained, specifically whether a 2023 HOA amendment can claim jurisdiction over land deeded in 1979. The administrator woman named Patricia Chen, voice patient and professional, walked me through the regulations. If your grandmother's property was never platted as part of the HOA development and was never voluntarily added through deed modification, then no, the HOA has no authority. They can't retroactively claim land through bylaw amendments. Even if they call it a geographic district, doesn't matter what they call it, property law requires recorded documents. Has the HOA shown you a recorded easement or deed restriction? No, just their internal amendment. Patricia was quiet for a moment. That's not enforceable. I'd recommend getting a boundary survey if you haven't already. Document your property lines with professional equipment. If they push, you'll have irrefutable proof. I thanked her and hung up, already planning. I didn't need to hire a surveyor. I had access to the same equipment they used. That evening, I pulled my old surveying gear from college. Total station, GPS rover, measuring staff. Set up the tripod in my front yard. Took 3 hours to shoot the complete boundary. Verified every corner against the recorded plat. Checked distances against county GIS. Ran calculations twice. Final measurement. My property line sat 23.4 feet from the HOA green space boundary. The driveway extension ended 11.2 feet from my property line. Total clearance, 12.2 feet. Not even close. I documented everything. Instrument readings, GPS coordinates, photos of each property, corner marker, calculations showing methodology, created a technical report that would stand up in any court. That night, I got the certified letter. Same format as the violation notice, thick envelope, return receipt, official letterhead with Victoria's signature in flowing script. Final notice: remove unauthorized hardscape within 72 hours or face $300, day fines plus immediate lien filing on property. At the bottom, a hand-drawn map showing the HOA boundary cutting directly through my driveway, extending their territory at least 20 feet past where it actually sat. I scanned everything, filed it in my evidence folder, marked 12 false claims in red pen, and waited. The next escalation came Friday afternoon. Victoria posted in the Pinehurst Meadows community Facebook group members only, but I joined years ago when Grandma was still alive. Dear neighbors, it's with deep concern that I must inform you of a serious violation affecting our community green spaces. A resident has paved over protected buffer zones without permits, without approval, without any regard for the environmental standards we've worked so hard to maintain. Despite repeated warnings, this individual refuses to comply with community regulations. The HOA is pursuing legal action to protect our property values and environmental commitments. She'd posted a photo of my driveway taken from an angle that made it look like it extended directly into woods, cropping out the clear 20-foot gap between pavers and HOA land. Comments exploded within minutes. Who is this? Name names. Unbelievable. People like this destroy neighborhoods. The HOA should press charges. Environmental damage isn't a joke. My kids play in those woods. What if the runoff pollutes the creek? I read every comment, saved screenshots, logged them in a spreadsheet, date, username, exact quote, 23 comments in the first hour. Some neighbors defended me, asking for proof, questioning the cropped photo, but Victoria's supporters buried them in accusations and rage. Nobody asked to see the actual survey. Nobody questioned whether the HOA had jurisdiction. They just believed her because she had a title and seemed certain. I called Marcus. She's going full scorched earth. Facebook attack, fake maps, threatening liens. She's trying to turn the neighborhood against me. Good, he said, and I heard him typing. Let her commit everything to the record. Every false claim is evidence of malice. Send me screenshots of every post. This is defamation, Mia. And if she files a fraudulent lien, that's a separate crime. Saturday morning, I found the sign. Planted in my front yard overnight, professional metal frame, laminated notice. Environmental violation. Orange County Code Enforcement. Unauthorized hardscape. No entry until remediation complete. But Orange County hadn't posted it. I checked online, no open violations on my address, no inspection scheduled, no county involvement at all. The sign was fake. I photographed it from every angle, wide shots, close-ups showing the fake county seal, GPS coordinates embedded. Then I checked my doorbell camera footage. 3:47 a.m. Victoria and a man I didn't recognize, probably her husband, planting the sign by flashlight. The motion-activated light kicked on after a few seconds, illuminating their faces clearly. I saved the video, time-stamped, and geotagged, and called the non-emergency police line. The officer arrived within 40 minutes, young guy, professional, but clearly tired of HOA disputes. I showed him the sign, the footage, my permits from the actual county. That's false impersonation of government authority, he said, making notes. That seal makes it look official. Anyone could think this was real. County enforcement. He took the sign as evidence, wrote a report, and asked if I wanted to press charges. Let me talk to my attorney first, I said, but I want this documented officially. After he left, I stood alone in my driveway, feeling cold anger settle in my chest. Not hot rage, the calculated kind that plans carefully. Victoria had escalated from words to actions, from threats to fraud. She'd trespassed on my property at 3 a.m. and planted fake government notices designed to intimidate and humiliate. Worse, she was spreading lies that could damage my professional reputation. Civil engineers live and die by their reputations. One whisper that I'd violated environmental codes, that I'd built without permits, that I'd ignored regulations, it could follow me for years. I called Marcus. She planted a fake county enforcement sign on my property at 3:47 this morning. Got it on video. Police report filed. My brother was silent for a long moment. Mia, this crossed the line. That's not just harassment, it's criminal impersonation and trespassing. Send me everything. We're not waiting anymore. I'm drafting a cease and desist letter with teeth. Monday afternoon, I got the email. Victoria had filed a complaint with the North Carolina Board of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors, the licensing board that governed my PE license. Subject: professional misconduct, unauthorized construction without proper engineering review. She claimed I'd designed and built a driveway that violated environmental codes, that I'd used my engineering credentials to circumvent proper review, that I represented a danger to public safety. My hand shook reading it. This wasn't just about the driveway anymore. She was attacking my livelihood. I forwarded the complaint to Marcus immediately, then started preparing my defense. Pulled every permit, every calculation, every approval from Orange County. Created a technical response documenting Orange County permit number 2024DW8847, approved September 12, 2024. Drainage calculations showing runoff directed to existing municipal system. Soil percolation tests proving permeable pavers reduced runoff by 40%. Survey data confirming zero encroachment on HOA or county land. Photos of boundary markers 23 plus feet from HOA property. Attached my PE seal to every document. Cross-referenced county code, showing full compliance. Included affidavit from the county zoning administrator confirming no violations. Sent the 47-page response to the licensing board with copies to Marcus and the county. Then I waited. Tuesday evening, my phone rang. Neighbor 3 houses down, older woman named Janet, who'd been friends with Grandma. Mia, I need to tell you something. 6 months ago, Victoria fined me $500 for planting vegetables in my front yard. Said it violated aesthetic standards. The bylaws don't mention vegetables anywhere, but she threatened a lien if I didn't pay. Her voice trembled. I paid because I didn't know how to fight her, but I just saw what she posted about you, the lies. I can't stay quiet anymore. By Friday, I had emails from 6 different neighbors. Each one had a story about Victoria overstepping fines that didn't match bylaws, threats, intimidation tactics. One man sent HOA internal emails showing Victoria had tried to hire a surveyor to redraw neighborhood boundaries to include older properties like mine. The surveyor refused, calling it fraudulent. Victoria sent 3 angry replies threatening to report him to his licensing board. I added every email to my evidence folder. Created a new section, Pattern of Behavior. Documented how this wasn't about my driveway, it was about someone who'd gotten used to wielding unchecked authority and couldn't accept being told no. The former HOA president reached out too. Coffee shop meeting, him looking exhausted, handing me a flash drive. Victoria orchestrated my removal 2 years ago. Board manipulation, rumor campaigns, made my life hell until I resigned. He stirred his coffee without drinking. This has financial records from my term and her first year. You'll see discrepancies, money that doesn't add up. I reported it, board dismissed everything. The flash drive contained budget reports showing $18,000 in consulting fees to companies that didn't exist, landscaping contracts with Victoria's brother's company at double market rates, legal expenses with no corresponding attorney invoices. I organized everything methodically, created a master timeline spreadsheet linking every incident to supporting evidence, built folder structures that would make any lawyer's job easy. The licensing board responded that week. Complaint dismissed. No evidence of professional misconduct. All permits and engineering work meet or exceed required standards. Victory tasted hollow. Victoria had tried to destroy my career and failed, but the attempt itself was damage enough. Marcus called that evening. I've drafted the cease and desist. Formal demand for her to stop all harassment, retract false statements, and acknowledge your property rights. 7 days to respond. If she refuses or ignores it, we file suit immediately. What are we looking at? I asked. Civil claims, trespassing, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud through the fake county sign. Criminal component, false impersonation, filing a frivolous professional complaint, possibly more depending what else we find. The fake boundary maps might constitute fraud too. He paused. Mia, this is going to get expensive. Legal fees, court costs, expert witnesses. Could run $30,000 before trial. I thought about Grandma's house, about her working 2 jobs to buy it, maintaining it alone for 40 years, leaving it to me because she trusted I'd protect it. Do it, I said. Send the letter. 3 days later, Victoria responded, not through an attorney, but directly via Facebook Messenger. Private message. No professional distance. You think you're so smart with your engineering degree and your permits? But I've been president of this HOA for 6 years, and I know every trick people like you try to pull. Your grandmother's property should have been absorbed into the HOA decades ago. She just got grandfathered in by outdated regulations. Well, times change. And when the board files our lien next week, you'll learn that community standards matter more than your precious paperwork. Enjoy your illegal driveway while it lasts. I screenshot the message, noted the timestamp, added it to evidence folder, exhibit, Q, direct, threat. Then I called Marcus. She just admitted in writing that she knows the property was never part of the HOA, but she's trying to force it in anyway, sent via Facebook Messenger. My brother started laughing, not happy, satisfied. She just confessed to knowingly making false claims. That's malice. That's punitive damages. Send me the screenshot. That weekend, Victoria made her final mistake. She called an emergency community meeting, official HOA, business, board members present, minutes recorded. Janet forwarded me the agenda. Discussion and vote. Special assessment for legal action against 847 Oakmont Drive. Environmental violation. My address. My grandmother's house. Put to a vote without me even being notified. I showed up anyway. Walked into the community center at 7 p.m. exactly, carrying a leather portfolio that matched Victoria's. The room went silent. 73 people by my count. Victoria sat at the head table, flanked by 3 board members, that crimson blazer perfectly pressed. Miss Torres. She said, voice dripping false courtesy, "This is a members-only meeting. Your property isn't part of the HOA." I stayed standing. Exactly. My property isn't part of your HOA, so why are you voting on a special assessment to sue me for violating rules that don't apply to me? Someone in the back started clapping. Others joined. Not everyone, maybe 20 people out of 70, but enough to rattle Victoria's composure. This affects the entire community, she said, voice rising. Your construction damages our property values, creates environmental hazards, sets dangerous precedents. We have authority to protect community interests, regardless of whose land technically. Show me your boundary survey, I interrupted, opening my portfolio. Show me one licensed surveyor's report proving your jurisdiction extends to my property. Victoria's face flushed. We have our records, aerial photos, historical documentation. I'm a licensed professional engineer. My voice stayed level, clear. I've surveyed my property with GPS equipment accurate to 2 centimeters. I have county-certified plats. I have permits from Orange County. Do you have anything besides your own internal documents to support your claims? I walked to the front and started distributing evidence packets, spiral-bound, tabbed, organized, like the engineering reports I wrote professionally. Page 1, original 1979 deed showing property purchase predating HOA by 22 years. Page 3, Orange County GIS data confirming boundaries. Page 7, my boundary survey with GPS coordinates. Page 11, photos showing 23.4 feet clearance from HOA land. Victoria tried to speak, but I kept going. Page 15, Orange County permit approving all construction. Page 19, drainage calculations showing reduced runoff. Page 23, licensing board dismissal of frivolous complaints. Page 27, police report documenting fake county sign planted on my property at 3:47 a.m. I pulled out my laptop connected to the projector. And here's security footage showing who planted that sign. The video played, crystal clear, Victoria and her husband, faces illuminated by my motion light, planting a fake government enforcement notice. The room exploded in whispers. Page 31, I continued calmly, screenshots of defamatory Facebook posts. Page 35, testimony from 6 neighbors about similar intimidation tactics. Page 41, financial records showing questionable HOA expenditures. And page 45, Miss Ashford's Facebook message admitting she knows my property was never part of the HOA, but she's trying to force compliance anyway. I looked directly at Victoria. That's called fraud, and extortion, and defamation, and criminal trespassing, all documented, all time-stamped, all provable in court. One of the board members stood older man, looking sick. Victoria, is this true? Did you plant that sign? She tried to answer, but words failed. Just opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Another board member pulled out her phone, frantically scrolling. The Facebook posts. These are real. She claimed the county was involved. I believed her. The former president stood in the back. I move for immediate vote of no confidence in Victoria Ashford as HOA president based on documented fraud, defamation, and misuse of authority. Someone seconded instantly. Victoria finally found her voice. You can't do this! I've increased property values. I've maintained standards. This woman is trying to destroy everything we've built. You destroyed it yourself, Janet said quietly from the middle row. We all saw the video. The vote was brutal. 61 inches favor of removal, 4 against, 8 abstaining. Victoria grabbed her designer bag and walked out, heels clicking in furious rhythm, crimson blazer disappearing through the door. Nobody tried to stop her. Afterward, people approached with apologies, questions, gratitude. Janet hugged me. Your grandmother would be proud. The former president shook my hand. You gave people a template for standing up to bullies. Documentation. Evidence. Calm facts. 2 weeks later, Victoria's house went up for sale. Price 12% below market desperate. I saw her loading boxes into a moving truck one Saturday, never making eye contact with anyone. Just disappeared like the authority she'd claimed had never actually existed. The new HOA board hired an independent surveyor to verify all boundaries. Final report confirmed my data. No encroachment, no violation, no jurisdiction over my property. They sent me a formal letter apologizing for the harassment and confusion caused by administrative errors. No admission of fraud, but enough to close the chapter. The driveway stayed. Beautiful permeable pavers, properly drained, built to code, sitting exactly where Grandma had always planned to extend it herself, but never could afford. I planted flowers along the border, bright yellow mums, Grandma's favorites, and installed a small memorial stone. Eleanor Torres, 1943 to 2024, she built this house with love. Marcus closed out his legal file. No lawsuit necessary. The cease and desist had been enough once Victoria lost her HOA backing. "You know what you really accomplished?" he asked. "Over dinner one night, you proved that authority without accuracy is just noise. That being right and being able to prove it matters more than any title." I thought about that. About how close I'd come to just tearing up the driveway to avoid conflict. How many people would have done exactly that? But Grandma hadn't raised me to back down from bullies. She'd raised me to measure carefully, build precisely, and stand firm when I knew I was right. The engineering degree helped. The surveying equipment helped. But mostly, it was just the patience to document everything and the understanding that truth has weight. 3 months later, a stranger emailed me. Subject: HOA boundary dispute, need advice. Another engineer, in another state, facing a similar situation. Victoria's story had spread through property rights forums shared as a cautionary tale. I wrote back with what I'd learned. First, know your boundaries. Not where you think they are, where they actually are, measured with professional equipment. Second, document everything. Every letter, every threat, every conversation. Emotion fades. Evidence lasts. Third, stay calm. Stay factual. Don't let anger drive decisions. Fourth, understand you're not fighting a person. You're defending a principle. Property rights exist because boundaries matter. Fifth, accept that standing up has costs, but calculate the cost of not standing up. What precedent does it set? Finally, remember that truth has momentum. Once you commit to it, once you build documentation that can't be disputed, the outcome becomes inevitable. Within a week, I had a dozen similar messages. Engineers, surveyors, architects, professionals who understood measurements being bullied by HOAs, who understood only volume. I created a simple website, Property Rights Documentation Guide. Free templates for evidence collection, sample survey reports, links to county resources. Nothing fancy, just tools for people who needed help standing up to manufactured authority. Marcus teased me about becoming an activist, but it felt right using my engineering background for something beyond drainage calculations and road designs. One evening, I sat on Grandma's front porch, watching sunset paint the sky orange and purple. The driveway stretched out in front of me solid, level, exactly where it belonged. I thought about Victoria, wondering if she'd learned anything. Probably not. People like that rarely did. They just moved to new neighborhoods and started over, finding new people to control until someone pushed back. But I'd learned something, that boundaries, property lines, professional standards, personal dignity only meant something if you were willing to defend them. Not with anger or volume, but with patience and proof. The driveway stayed. The house stayed. Grandma's legacy stayed. And I stayed too, measuring carefully, building precisely, understanding that some things existed independent of opinion. Truth didn't negotiate. It just waited, patient and immovable, for someone willing to prove it.